So then folks, before we start fishing, let's talk about feeder choice. Now this is a real sticky subject for a lot of people. You've got pellet feeders, method feeders, hybrid feeders, open end feeders. When do you use each feeder in what situation? So I've got 3 feeders I like to use. The first one is the Preston Ovations feeder. It's the one that's all in one piece. It's cast out of metal. It casts perfectly. Brilliant for fishing in open water. Slight change, slight modification I like to make to the feeder is I like to use a Guru stem in the Preston feeders. I think the Guru stems are a really nice quality stem, the elastic's really good, and with a little bit of manipulation, the Preston feeders fit those stems perfectly. So what you've got to do is maybe just squeeze the Preston feeders in slightly to close the gap, or maybe just tap it gently with a hammer or something like that, just to close the gap, and then the Guru stems will fit perfectly. Next feeder that I like to use, and this actually gets quite a lot of use on smaller venues, casting up against islands, casting on shelves, obviously on a lot of small enclosed venues. The shelves on these venues are really steep, and as a great man once said, once that feeder's in the water, you do not want to move the feeder. So anything that keeps that feeder there is a bonus. So the feeder I use for this is a little Inline MIDI gripper feeder. It's a little tiny method feeder, similar in size to the Preston feeder. Casts beautifully because it's a mixture of metal at the bottom and then plastic on top. It rights itself in the water really quickly in shallow water, so you haven't got to worry about it landing the wrong way up. And importantly, the lead at the base has got some grooves in it which helps the feeder stay put once you've cast it in and you tighten it up. This means that I can use a lighter feeder. If I was to use one of the Preston feeders to get the same effect, I'd probably have to use something like a 30 or 40 gram feeder on really steep shelves. And obviously casting a light feeder in shallow water is a real bonus for me. So that's the feeder I like to use on smaller venues, casting on steep shelves. Those 2 feeders that I've talked about there are great for sort of harder baits like washters, hard pellets, things like that. But when it comes to fishing softer baits like soft expanders maybe, I like to use a little hybrid feeder. And it just means that I'm in a little bit more control. I can put a base in the hybrid feeder of pellets, and then I can just lay my soft pellet on the top and just put a few pellets around the hook without crushing the actual hook bait. And it means that I'm actually fishing effectively in the water. I'm not sitting there worrying in my head, have I crushed my hook bait as my hook bait fell off? So if I'm using a soft hook bait, I like to use those little hybrid feeders. Narrowing down those feeder choices to just those 3 has really simplified my fishing, and it means that I'm confident of how those feeders work in the water, which ultimately means more fish in the net.